So, as mentioned in this session, we're going to try to begin at the root, the physical root, the energetic root as well, in terms of bringing the movement from Wuji and blending to Tai Chi and then blending into Yin Yang. So, um, just trying to get used to this vernacular or yeah, the vocabulary here, Wuji, Tai Chi, Yin Yang, so as to get a whole story of the phases and the cycle. Remember, Wuji is the source. Tai Chi is the force that starts to move out of Wuji to bring us the physical and or the material and the immaterial dimensions. And then material always breaks down. You have the life and death cycle of all material. By the same force, Tai Chi takes us back to Wuji, again, blending and creating a larger cycle to and from. So Wuji, Tai Chi, Yin Yang. So it's not necessarily like this happens first, this happens second, this happens third. It's, these pictures, the pictograms are, a best description of three as one, if you will, right? Usually we talk about two as one, but three as one. In the source in Wuji, we have the potential of yin and yang, and then we also have the potential that Tai Chi uses to bring forth the yin and yang. And in yin yang as well, you have within that whole, you have a Wu Ji as it is. You have the Wu Ji as its source, which is still it's connected to. Yet you have differentiation, material, immaterial cycles, feminine, masculine, night and day and whatnot. Yet Tai Chi is always there too. Tai Chi is in there spiraling. Tai Chi is also here as well, whether it's dormant or whether it's manifesting. So this is a little bit of the conundrum and the paradox that's also represented in the small universe of the body. The body is a small universe. And so one of the goals and the tricks is to, when you're moving, you bringing that aspect of stillness into your movement. And then when you come back to, let's say stillness, you're trying to really bring every part of yourself into stillness. The body, it's easy. You can stop moving the body. It might be harder for kids. I've seen this recently, right? But also bringing the mind to stillness. So every aspect of the self, as the self is also part of yin and yang, bringing the mind, psycho-emotional bodies, and the immaterial and the physical body material, bringing those back into Wuji as best as we can. And so my teacher, he always says, try to always search for the deeper feeling. Always search for the deeper feeling. And so the challenge is to really try to experience Wuji, which is essentially, the source of where we come from. And this is what the mystics and the monks were always, meditating with or on or about. And so it helps to differentiate in this way, as mentioned, paradoxically, all phases are one, but yet the mind can still sit in deep stillness, and that stillness can continue to deepen. And then the mind can also feel, sense, track coming out of stillness, slowly moving into the material until the mind is with the body in grand um, manifested movement within the body, where the mind is is in fatiguing muscles, or the mind is in sore tissues, or the bones, or whatnot. So the goal in that, as a spectrum, let's say it's a moving spectrum, it's the important thing is to try to stay holistic with the spectrum, in that the Wuji, Taiji, and Yin Yang are a complete story, and that story you tell that story with your movement, one within each session, one within a practice, and two within your practice, and then also with each individual movement or exercise, or within a session, or within a given set. A set being, or a movement being, starting from stillness to growing larger, your extremes, your extremities, and your expanded range of motion, your what do we usually call it? Uh, your full range of motion, and then bringing that back, as one cycle. So let's get into it. And I hope you don't mind me repeating these things, um, just so it helps to kind of solidify the idea, also within myself, and you can continue to hear it and get used to it as well. So we're sitting, and we're first, as mentioned, starting in the root being the physical root, the energetic root, and the dantian, the energetic center, and the physical center of mass, yin and yang in that sense as well. Here, the spine comes out of the root, right? So we have, in a sense, our first postural alignment structure, being the spine, as it is sort of harmonizing with the force of gravity. So we, in a way, have to emerge out of, or into, gravity's force to hold our spines and torsos upright. So that's the body regulation, feeling the spine opening and closing, just simply relaxing the posture and releasing to gravity. You feel a sense of collapsing, or um, poor posture is what you know your parents might say if they saw you sitting this way, right? Poor posture, say, sit up straight. Okay, well, that's when you open the spine and you erect the spine. Then you feel your head lifting up to the sky and slightly tucking in the chin. So you feel the spine elongated. You feel space within the vertebrae as well. And from here, your posture is erect, spine is open. At this point, it's a good idea to go into the deep abdominal breathing. When your spine is erect here, you're feeling your abdomen opening and closing with deep abdominal breathing. Now, the first movement and the first body regulation is harmonizing the breath with the spinal movement. So we'll do that first. Simply deep breath, inhale to erect the spine, and exhale to release the spine to gravity. Simply just relaxing your posture. Feel it reach the neck and the head, the momentum, if you will, and then lifting up, rising from the tailbone, spine opening. That's inhale again. When you're ready to exhale, release the breath and release the torso. And so here in this first movement, we create a movement cycle. And in this way, we're sort of spiraling out of center with the spine. This is like initially the first movement of every Qigong movement we do. So you can imagine all the various Qigong movements, Tai Chi movements, where the arms are lifting or the arms are spreading, what have you. This initial movement right here is the initial, it's the first from which chest bow opens, shoulders move, elbows, hands, all the way to the fingers. And so within the breath regulation, so remember the body regulation is the first regulation, just getting the movement within the body easy enough here, simply spine erecting, spine relaxing. Next regulation is the breath regulation. That's when we're harmonizing the inhalation as we open and ascend, and harmonizing the exhalation as we descend, relax, and release. Mind regulation here, that's the third regulation. So, as it is with the mind, we're trying to cultivate characteristics of a horse mind in contrast to a monkey mind. So, a monkey mind is somewhat out of our control, out of our grasp. A horse mind is more stable and it's open and attuned to our requests. And so the mind in this way now helps to keep all these regulations intact, smooth, fluid, right? So the mind is in the body regulation sense, the mind is tracking the movement from the tailbone through the spine up through the neck and head. Mind is also monitoring the breath cycles, trying to harmonize with that movement of the body. Mind is like great harmonizer here. And then mind regulation is also reminding us to promote relaxation. So in that sense, we revisit the breath cycle using the exhale as a strategy. So as when we exhale, try to embody that sense of release and relaxation and almost blending into stillness. But as the inhale comes in, we posture up, open spine. You can almost get a sense of yourself inflating and deflating, with your breath. and to fulfill the spectrum of yin yang and the story of yin and yang within this movement, we will explore our range of motion. So this means that the movements will spiral to the body's sort of extremes, and will harmonize yin and yang at their extremes within the spine opening and closing. So as you become more familiar and harmonized, the movements, you can allow them to get bigger and bigger. Sometimes I say, exaggerating. So if you were to exaggerate the movement, spine opening, spine closing, what would that look like? And given this movement, this initial movement, we'll try to explore, diverse movements, diverse angles. So we'll turn the torso to one side, continue to wave the spine. So for a long time, for many repetitions, the mind will be needed to keep the body regulation, breath regulation intact. And this is until we can get to a stage of regulating of no regulating, where we've done enough repetitions, so many repetitions that the movement becomes embodied and ingrained and almost what we say subconscious. So I'm turning my torso slightly to the other side so as to balance spinal wave here. So for me, I'm trying to maintain a comfortable range while still exaggerating the movement. So my movement will, hover within a sort of 60 to 80% maximum range of motion. And you'll notice, well, it might be difficult to see, but I'll adjust the camera here. You can see I'm using my hands on my knees to help support my spine and my torso. So, for example, I'm closing my spine, relaxing to my left, and my left hand on my knee helps to support my torso. Otherwise, you have all of that strain on the lower back. So, in a way, we start to utilize the hands kind of as two legs, if you will. So, when I go forward now, I'm going so far forward that I can now use my hands on my knees to help prop up the torso, but also support the weight of the torso as I'm slowly moving the spine section by section. So the mind is having to track all of these things, trying to get a sense of what's familiar, what's not familiar. how to move and animate the torso and the spine, what muscles to signal, what tissues to signal. So we've explored our range of motion. We're back at center. And now we've almost gone halfway of the full story of the first cycle as we explored yin yang. And we're now spiraling back to into the Wu Ji phase. So now the spinal waves becoming smaller and smaller, similar to when we first started the movement. We're just closing in on those more nuanced movements. And now we're trying to get a sense of the transition, phasing into movement or phasing into stillness from movement. The most fun thing about this, the most interesting, is exploring this transitional phase where movement is slowly dying off into stillness. So here we can start to feel and sense the energetic body emerge. When we cease the movement of the body, the movement of the mind and the energy can sort of emerge. So as you're still spiraling into Wu Ji, the physical body has ceased, but yet you may still be waving with the mental body so as to influence the energetic body. And finally, you can cease the movement in the mind and just hone in on your center line. So at this point, the mind will feel the tailbone on the chair and feel this nice, solid um, structure, vertical structure, following the spine from the tailbone to the top of the head. From here, you can make small adjustments to feel that solid, upright structure. And from here, in this static position, you can start to harmonize the breath with this static position. Usually, we're harmonizing breath with movement, yet still here we can harmonize breath with static movement, harmonizing breath with stillness in the sense that it might be difficult to hold the posture upright for a extended period of time, yet the breath is helping to support this structure and your torso and your spine upright. And so you continue to breathe deeply, deep abdominal breathing, feeling the abdomen expand, feeling the lower back even expand, maybe even the pelvic floor, all expanding upon inhale, contracting upon exhale, yet not releasing the spine, holding the structure upright. So in a sense, you can say that we've drawn a yin yang symbol, or let's say we can actually, to be more clear, we've drawn yang circles that have been manifested on the perpendicular plane to the chest. So now we want to get to a point where we're drawing the yin yang symbols parallel to the chest. And this is where we're going to extend the arms and the hands out. So in order to draw this circle on the next plane parallel to the chest, I need an up-down movement. So the spine is going to allow for that. But I also need a horizontal movement. So a vertical movement and a horizontal movement. That's what's going to give me eventually my circle, right? So me harmonizing the closing of the spine, descending along with rotating left and right, opening and rising, that's what's going to allow for my circle. So I'm simply just, holding my elbows to my ribs right now. And you can see how opening the spine, closing the spine gives me vertical movement. And then rotating spine, rotating torso gives me horizontal movement. So, yeah, as you're playing with it, you get a sense of that. Now, this is important because sometimes we get lost on, where's the movement coming from? What's the root or the source of the movement? So, the Dantian is the right now for sure. The Dantian is the root of the movement here. Sometimes when we're standing, the movement is rooted in the feet. The feet, is the origin of the movement, in which the waist um, guides the movement into the fingers eventually. So the movement in the Tai Chi um, classics, it said movement is originated in the feet, guided by the waist, manifests in the hands. And so this is our spiraling, um, coiling Tai Chi, from ground through the body into the hands and fingers. So I'm resting my hands now. We're going to start to draw that plane parallel to the chest, right? So eventually we're going to draw our yang circles, draw our yin circles, transition S's from yin to yang, and eventually we're going to play with that. However, we're starting here at the Dantian at the source. So what I'm going to first invite you to do is visualize the yin yang symbol, visualize where we're going, right? You see the white phase, you see the dark phase, and you can close your eyes or open your eyes. It doesn't really matter because we're going to explore all the angles. But so, first and foremost, you see the circle, you see the S in no, particular um, direction, right? And so, essentially, really, what we're looking for is the figure eight. Because once we start to explore both S's, then we get the infinity symbol vertically. Now, what we have to do is connect the root to the manifested plane. So we have to connect the Dantian to that yin yang symbol. So the Dantian, essentially, the yin yang symbol spirals out from the Dantian, if you will. Yin yang symbol spirals out from the Dantian. So in the same way that Yin yang holds Wu Ji as a all-encompassing circle. The Dantian ho- holds that um, yin yang inside until we decide to manifest the yin yang outside through the spine, through the arm, eventually into the hands and fingers, right? So the potential, we say, is always in the Dantian. The potential is always in the Dantian. And so this is the same for all of the Qigong and Tai Chi movements. The potential for all of those movements is always in the Dantian. As the Dantian, it holds the vision and it holds the the um the seed, if you will. And then once the movement begins to manifest, we start to grow the tree where the roots become the legs, the trunk becomes the torso, and the branches and flowers become the arms and hands manifested. So a couple of visuals there to help guide you. So we're starting at the seed, we're starting at the root here at the Dantian. And as we envision the yin yang symbol, in a way, we're sort of envisioning the the tree as we're planting the seed. So now that movement has to start somewhere. That movement has to start somewhere. So we can see that the spiral eventually manifests the Dantian. Almost sort of envision the spiral projecting out of your, sort of, maybe you can think of your belly button, the spiral projecting out of your belly button as if you're playing the movie of yin yang symbol as you're projecting, from the um, what do you call it, the belly button. But we do have to manifest that movement in the physical. So that movement has to eventually become to the physical. So if you haven't started already, start to spiral movement in the Dantian and feel that sort of, it's almost like a movement that's just like churning in your Dantian, right? In a way, it's sort of fixed, and it's held um, here in the abdomen because we haven't started to move it through the spine, through the torso, through the arms and hands. So this, in a way, is just almost a one or a two-dimension circle, but yet you know where you're going, so you can envision the three-dimensional spiral. And so, as best as you can, you're opening and closing the spine and turning, rotating the torso left and right so as to start to draw this spiral and the yin yang symbol from Dantian into the lower back, into the abdomen itself, and then in the middle of the chest to the upper chest. So finally, you get to the chest bow. And so, what we're going to do is we're going to um, isolate one arm first. So feel the let's start with what your dominant hand might be. So I'll go with the right, as most people are right hand dominant. Start to feel the spiraling movement come into the shoulder of that right side. So you feel that shoulder start to animate as you start to coil, almost the tree, you know, you get in a baby tree that's coming into the torso and then into the shoulder. As you move past the shoulder, feel the spirals, feel the circles, feel the coiling action coming into the elbow. And now let's go ahead and draw some, almost soccer ball size circles with the elbow. Soccer ball size circles with the elbow. And so in this case, we're going to have to lift the hand off the knee. We're drawing yang circles. Suppose it doesn't matter at this point if you're drawing yang or yin. Just remember you're sort of building your baby yin yang tree here, baby yin yang tree, as you're connected to the root at the dantian, coming through the spine, lower torso, middle, upper torso into shoulder, reaching the elbow. And in a way, the forearm is almost dead. The wrist and hand and fingers, they haven't branched out yet. And so it's the mind really that determines where the movement goes. So now the movement goes into the wrist. So now the movement, feel and sense, get a sense of the movement passing the elbow and going now into the wrist. So you can go ahead and get a little bit of flexing of the hand going. You also feel and sense the hand rising, right? Hand falling, coordinated with the spirals that are manifesting from dantian into spine, shoulder, elbow, wrist. Finally, the movement reaches the finger, the index finger. Movement reaches the index finger. At this point, now we've completed the physical manifestation of the, in this case, yang circle. So we're inhaling, coordinating breath. Remember the fall, the collapsing, descending, exhaling, inhaling, rising, filling, manifesting, exhaling, descending, falling. Good. We're going to let this movement then now just slowly die and rest the hand on the knee. So we're going to go to the other arm. So now we're going to have to return to the source. We're building another tree now, if you will. Return to the dantian. And so for this next side, we're going to now start spiraling in the other direction. So slowly start to build this tree, animating your dantian, your lower abdomen, feeling the spine opening and closing, along with rotating of the torso. Feel the movement now coming up the back, into the middle back, upper back, finally into the shoulder. So now we're feeling the shoulder beginning to animate and start to manifest the yang circle tree. Still continue to harmonize with the breath, opening, rising, filling, inhaling, exhaling, releasing, sinking, closing. Really feel the shoulder embodying the spirals, embodying the circles moving freely, shoulder at this point attached to dantian. So shoulder and dantian in coordination. Movement now moves to elbows with your mind tracking the movement from the shoulder to the elbow. Now we're lifting the hand off the knee, off the leg, allowing the arm to move freely. Soccer ball size circles with the elbows now. Now elbow connected to dantian. Elbow connected via the shoulder, via the back, spine. Forearm, wrist and hand are not yet grown, but the potential is there. You feel, though, the wrist and the hand, because they are connected to the elbow, they're still influenced. You're not necessarily putting your mind there to manifest the spirals or the circles, but yet they're still influenced. So finally, you pass the elbow, movement reaches the wrist. See how this feels different from wrist to elbow, from where the movement just came. Don't forget to keep harmonizing breath. And so, of course, the hand and finger, they're connected to the wrist. So you feel them influenced. Mind's not necessarily there yet, but you feel them influenced. Until finally, mind reaches the fingertip of the index finger. Now you have the tip of the finger connected to the dantian. Feel how this also stretches the arm out as the spiral continues to want to progress out in front of you. Feel how that sort of pulls the arm out. It sort of gives space, provides space to the shoulder joint, provides space to the elbow joint, wrist, and hand. Now that you've grown the tree, support it with the breath. Great. Let's go ahead and leave the tree where it is, putting the hand back to the knee. Resting here. Bringing the mind and the attention back into the dantian. Take a second and Let the contrast feeling enter the nerves and the nervous system as we just did a whole bunch of movement with the torso and with the arms. Let the arms just rest and let the nerves rest. Let the tissues rest in stillness now. So fully relax these tissues. This brings us back to our original posture, sitting upright. Now we return to regulating the spine. So now at this point, back to our first movement, back to the root movement. I like to call this the root of all movement. So go ahead and soften your spine here, just allowing it to move with the breath. Might feel compelled to continue to hold tissues in the shoulders, hold the arm. I want to encourage you to fully relax the shoulders, fully relax the arm as you just softly wave the spine. We're going to sit up now, stand up rather, and give yourself, some care and just slowly rise out of your seat. No need to rush or hurry. Try to maintain that sense of relaxation, the feeling. We're building that Qigong state and training the nerves to um, remember the Qigong state, remember that relaxed state. Now we've got the center propped up on the legs. So now I've got the legs involved. Remember these two bows here, these two major bows. Now the movement's beginning in the legs or in the feet rather. So we're truly going to satisfy the theory of the Tai Chi classics. In the same way that we relaxed the spine on the exhale, we're relaxing the legs on the exhale in coordination. So we first get a sense of that. When we inhale, we grow that tree, rising, extending the legs, opening spine. Exhale, just letting that tree flow in the wind. It's a soft, malleable, flexible tree. Inhaling, extending the legs, opening spine, lifting head to the sky. Exhaling, again, relaxing the spine, relaxing the legs, feeling the connection to the earth now. Feeling that movement originating in the feet, coming from the feet into the legs, spine, head, neck, going off into the sky as we release it. In a way, you're sort of shooting electrical impulses into the sky via your body. So that electrical impulse comes through the body, goes out of the head, and then into the sky. You relax the body, you let that movement go, so that another can grow. Inhaling, extending legs, opening spine. Movement is moving through the body. Reaches top of the head, connects to the sky, and you release the body on exhale, letting it go. It's nice to close the eyes here. You do want to practice caution as you're slowly going deeper into relaxation, into the semi-sleep state. It is possible to lose your balance. You want to maintain your balance. We're going to, again, build our yin yang tree. We're going to build our yin yang tree. We're going to do both hands now. So if you see me demonstrate, what I'll do is I'll give you a side view and I'll exaggerate the movement. You see the movement, adjust this here. You see the movement originate in the feet as the legs close, spine closes. From the feet, legs, spine opens, shoulders, elbows, hands, fingers, and then letting it go to grow anew. So I close, and then from the feet, extending legs, opening spine, shoulders, elbows, wrists. Release it, let it go to grow anew. Show you now from the front angle. All I'm doing is just drawing my yang circles. So let's relax the hands though, and let's build the tree section by section. So we've got legs and torso involved. Feel the legs and the torso as you're continuing. Remember, you, in a way, we're sort of building this eternal cycle of opening and closing as we inhale and exhale. So as best as you can, animate the shoulders to satisfy the circles. Close the shoulders, close the shoulder bow, open the shoulder bow, right? As you're envisioning where you're going, you're envisioning those yang circles. You're letting the physical movement stop at the shoulders, but yet you have your mental movement sort of fixed and you know where you're going. And yes, the rest of the arm is connected to the shoulders, so you can't help but feel that the rest of the arm is influenced. However, your mind and your intention have stopped at the shoulders. So get a sense of the shoulders connected to the root of your yin yang tree here, the root of your yin yang tree. So deep within the ground, coming through the feet is the movement through the legs, spine, finally into the shoulders. And then from the shoulders here, moving into the elbows. Feel the movement start to slowly animate the elbows. You're getting closer and closer to drawing those yin yang circles. Let the movement come through the legs, torso, shoulders, then elbows. And try to feel the distinction here. You're not animating the hands or the fingers yet because the movement's stopping at the elbows, but we will in just a sec. Now let the movement pass the shoulders, elbows, and into the wrists. Now, essentially, you're drawing those yang circles, not yet with the hands or the finger, but they've reached the wrists. Make sure that the wrists, though, are connected to the dantian, connected to the root of your tree. Feel that movement smoothly move from the legs into the spine, into the shoulders, elbows, wrists. And now go ahead and move it into the finger, index finger. Now you're drawing your yang circles. Exhaling, releasing, relaxing, descending, inhaling, lifting, rising, filling. Exhaling, releasing, relaxing, descending, closing. Try to get a sense and imprint onto the nervous system. The contrast, inhaling, lifting, rising, exhaling, sinking, falling, relaxing. This is where now yin yang becomes apparent as we imprint the feelings and sensations onto the nervous system. Inhaling yang and exhaling yin. Now yin yang has emerged. I'm going to now do some S's to draw some transitions. I'm going to be switching from yang to yin now on my next circle at 12 o'clock. I'm going to draw half an S, move through center, other half, and now yin. Yin circles. Even though we're drawing yin circles, yin and yang in this case are essentially the same in the sense that yang is going to continue to inhale, rise, and fill. Yin is sinking, releasing, closing. important thing here is body regulation wise is to feel the tip of the finger connected to the feet, the root of the movement. Now that we're standing, the root of the movement is in the feet. So you want to be able to feel the movement fully embodied, connecting the feet to the finger. If you're comfortable, go ahead and just play with the movement now. You can draw more S's. You can draw multiple S's so as to satisfy the vertical infinity symbol. As the movement becomes more elaborate, as it becomes more complex, the challenge is to keep intact your body regulation, the body structure, the structural integrity, the breath regulation, harmonizing inhalation, exhalation with lifting and falling. And really putting the mind to task as you try to remember and coordinate all of these components. And now we're going to start to make our way back to Wu Ji, phasing, transitioning back to Wu Ji. So you first envision, get a sense of the feeling, because we've imprinted it onto the nervous system for a few times now. Movements are becoming smaller and smaller. This time we're going to really track the movement and trace it back to the root. Starting from the fingers, we're going to release the fingers and hands now. Whatever circles you're drawing, it's okay. I'm drawing yin circles, but I've restricted the movement and we're letting the movement fall away from the fingers and hands. Letting the movement fall away from the forearms. We're at the elbows now. Letting the movement fall away at the shoulders now. Let the movement fall away. Now in the spine and the legs. Honing in, blending back into Wu Ji. Restricting the body's movement. And then slowing down the mental wave, the mental circle. Dropping your mind into your Dantian. Dropping your mind down into your feet. Connecting the feet to the Dantian via the legs. Connecting the Dantian to the head, top of the head, via the spine. Feeling yourself connected to the heaven up in the sky. Feeling yourself connected to the ground via the feet. feeling yourself harmonized with these two powers as three powers. If the mind wants to wander, simply pull it back with the breath. Pull it back into the dantian, feeling the inhalation and exhalation. And that completes our session for today.